Yo, what's going on? I'm gonna give people time to get in here. Didn't announce it, did not mention anything, so am not expecting people to pop in instantly. So, gonna kill a little time to give people time to get in here. If you are watching this pre-recorded, don't complain in the comments that I took a while to get started. Just jump ahead a minute or something. There's a progress bar at the bottom, and there's double time speed, so do not share your complaints in the comments that I took 1 minute and 30 seconds to get to the point or whatever. Hey, Jay Baldwin was a genius. How you feeling? Hey, Adidas Elitis. What's up? Manu12. Hey, B Scott. How you feeling? Yeah. Um, might even stream a couple times today. Today's gonna be a very chill day for me, so I have the time. We're also ahead on podcast episodes. If you're not listening to the podcast, by all means, please listen to the podcast. Search for Champagne Sharks anywhere where you find your podcast. Just go enter Champagne Sharks or go to champagnesharks.com. You go there, you have a link to everything. Hey, JG, how you feeling? Yeah, that champagnesharks.com gives you a link to everything Champagne Sharks related. So definitely check that out. Go to patreon.com/champagne sharks and become a patron. There is our last two episodes are really good. Uh, definitely check them out. Jason England and Bertrand Cooper, and we talked about class in the black community and who gets to make black pop culture, and whether having poor black people making more art would make a difference. I know Bertrand feels like it would, and my take on the whole thing is that even if you tried to get poor black people to create art in this current climate, they would get poor black people who are like class traders or whatever, who buy into the same shit. Like any black person that can get in a room in these rooms now, whether they were born rich or born poor, they're not gonna get there unless they've learned to toe the party line or learn to kind of acclimate and assimilate. So I feel like the kind of black people, poor or not poor, that would get chosen, I don't know if it make that big a difference, but it's an interesting conversation, and you might disagree with me and agree with Bertrand, and that's cool. But it's a pretty good episode. The other thing going on is at the bottom, there's different ways to support us. Like if you enjoy the show, if you feel like we give you value and insights, and you appreciate the research we do and the takes that we have, then by all means, like, comment, share, subscribe to the YouTube. You can do that for free. You can Venmo or Cash App us at Champagne Sharks. You can PayPal us at champagnesharks at gmail.com. And of course, during the live chat, you can hit us with a super chat or a super sticker at the bottom of the chat box on the right. So there's a lot of different ways to support the show. And that's the end of the preamble. We're at about 4 minutes in, and we're going to get to the actual meat of the argument for the impatient people. So I made you wait 4 minutes. So for the ADD people, I hope you're still here. I hope you survive. Again, don't leave a comment. If the lead-in was too long, just stop watching the videos because I don't know what else I can do for you. Yeah, so Beyonce and Jay-Z, the title of this thing, the thing I want to talk about, right, is I feel like so much politics, especially like centrist politics, has been about, the individual and the personal, and they always say the personal is political, but it's, gone too far, where this idea of like, oh, if I make it and I get rich, then I've done meaningful politics. Or if a couple of black people get hired at a white company, that's meaningful politics. Like there's all these different ways in which the individual or the personal gets focused on to the exclusion of the systemic. And that's a real problem, and it still happens to this day. But something that's been happening, it's been getting trendier and more in vogue to be aware of systemic issues and to use words like systemic. Like, I've never seen systemic used as much as I'm seeing now. People talking about systems, white supremacy instead of just white privilege, hegemony. There's all these patriarchy. There's all these words going on that have to do with, we're going to examine systems. We're going to examine system dynamics. We're going to examine institutions and historical trends and things like that. And it's pretty good, but I feel like there's been an overcorrection where now it's like, not only are we going to ignore what role the individual has in making good politics happen, uh, it's almost become an excuse not to be responsible for anything. I mean, the only thing I'm supposed to do as an activist now is to agitate systems and institutions to do things. Even corporations, like a lot of, like, being liberal or left used to mean being anti-corporate or anti, materialistic or whatever. And now, to me, I think progressive people almost buy into consumerism and stuff more than right wingers of all people. And I'll give you an example. Like, there's such a fundamental distrust of media companies, corporations, whatever, that's happening among the right now, where they always think like, oh, these corporations are woke, these corporations are trying to program us, these corporations are um untrustworthy, they just care about making money and pandering, and they can't be trusted. I mean, they distrust corporations for mostly the wrong reasons, for this idea that in their endless greed and search for money, that they're pandering to women and feminists and uh black people and other minorities and the gays and the trans and all this stuff. But they do have, to me, on average, this distrust of institutions, this distrust of corporations and whatever, and distrust of, to a large degree, even like billionaires and stuff, except for Trump. But because he talks like a populist talk. But on the flip side, progressives, the people who used to be considered like, distrustful of authority or whatever, they have this weird now faith in corporations, like this, and billionaires, like they think like black billionaires are going to save us, minority billionaires, gay millionaires, gay billionaires, um trans CEOs, like this stuff is going to save us. And a belief in woke capitalism too, like this idea, if we agitate for more representation, and expect these corporations to put black superheroes and Asian superheroes, whatever, and have all this stuff happening. Uh, Corporations are our friends, and they're here to save us. And when the corporation makes a woke show, we're gonna celebrate and promote the show because that corporation is now our friend, and we believe in Marvel. Like, people have this weird belief that Disney and Marvel, like, cares about minorities. It's like a very strange thing. Like, the corporation is your friend, the billionaire is your friend, to the point that when they do what they do, like, and it's like getting mad at a dog for barking, but when they do something that's self-enriching and capitalistic, to the point that it goes against those same oppressed groups, like they act shocked, like there's a faith that they have in them. Like, I don't expect anything out of Beyonce or Jay-Z except for them to try to make money. I just hope that they try not to do too much damage, like when they get like too egregious with the greed and whatever, I think is worth calling out. But there's not an actual disappointment on my part. There's not a feeling like, shit, I've been betrayed. Like how dare you? And that's what's funny with Beyonce and this blood diamond thing. Um, yeah, exactly. I just want corporations to let me in so I can claim I'm gonna change it from the inside. But the particular picture, let me see if I can find it. So people are getting mad at Beyonce for working with Tiffany's. And it's talking about blood diamonds. They're like upset about it, and upset strangely about them using a Basquiat picture in the background. It's saying like Basquiat and his anti-capitalist messages and everything. He would have been against being in a picture with billionaires and something that's promoting blood diamonds. And you guys, like, I've read a lot about Basquiat, and I was like a fan of Basquiat, and I read a lot of his biographies. I've even read like the biography of his ex-girlfriend. Uh, she wrote. It's called The Widow Basquiat. That one's pretty good because it has a lot of like personal stuff about Basquiat and what it was like to live with him. I mean, there's no idea what she's telling is true or is not telling, but it's consistent with what a lot of people say, which is he's a guy that really wants to be famous and rich and be accepted by white people. And regardless of how you feel about his talent, some people think he's talented, some people think he's just kind of like a derivative hack, whatever. But I mean, he was not like a real anti-materialist revolutionary. The guy wanted to be rich, and it's funny whenever I say that, people get really upset. People get like upset, but I mean, the guy used to do graffiti under the tag Samo, Samo, which was short for like same old bullshit. And it was Samo, and he would like post like these little cryptic like fortune cookie type sayings about class and race and all these different things, and there would be like anti-materialistic scribblings in his work, but to me it's not that different than when Patrice Cullors from Black Lives Matter reads the room and sees like socialism is ascendant and mentions being a black Marxist. Like, yeah, you can say you're anything. It's your actions that matter. And the thing with Basquiat was he didn't really live an anti-capitalist. Everyone who knows him said the guy just wanted to be famous, and he would admit things. He was bragging about how he came up on white people and tricked all these rich white people with his anti-materialistic stuff. He was talking about his Samo tag. I couldn't find the quote. I was looking for it before I started recording, but I wanted to find it to share it because I feel like it's more persuasive when you give like an actual quote. But he was basically saying that he had all these pretentious anti-capitalist um, meanings that he announced for his graffiti when he was explaining it to people, and he was like yucking it up about how these rich white people who themselves are rich. So it's ironic that they're that they're so taken by this fake anti-capitalist stuff. He was talking about how, that reminds me of the way he described the quote. It reminded me of like the irony of Fight Club when Tyler Durden is laughing that he was selling rich people's fat right back to them. Like that's kind of how he was kind of talking about his same old anti-capitalist hustle, where he was kind of trying to make it seem like he got over and got money from rich white people by selling them BS anti-capitalist stuff, even though they're like huge capitalists themselves. And there's a lot of things. If you read the body of his interviews and works and read biographies of him, like I think to a degree he had like a superficial caring about this stuff, but like to me it just all ties into the same thing about people just are projecting these good politics into like rich and famous uh celebrities and corporations or whatever, then getting did my thing cut? Okay, I thought maybe it cut out. Yeah, getting disappointed by the politics being so-called betrayed, even though the people's actions never gave any reason to expect otherwise. And then they turn around. But the other reason why I think they do it too is because it over focusing on the systemic, I think, has now given people a kind of freedom from obligation. Like, hey, I'm just one person, so you can't expect me to live by my principles because really, this is the corporation's fault. This is the system's fault, and you're being you're letting them off the hook by expecting me to um change my behavior when so it's kind of like, oh, why should I do X, Y, and Z when this rich person is flying a private jet and burning a million fossil fuels, which is not a totally bad point. Like, yeah, you know, it is stupid to think that you focus on the individual and in the meantime let rich people keep doing what they want and then put the onus on, the individual to change their behavior and bail us out. Like, everybody has to do their part, but demanding that billionaires and whatever do their part, and that we're just going to sit around and wait for that to happen. And in the meantime, we're just going to do what we want because, like fuck it, we're just individuals. Like, we can't change anything. Like, this becomes like, I think this is a bullshit way of doing politics where you just complain and whine at rich people and corporations while you do absolutely nothing. So for people who are, hey, what's going on? This is funny. Congratulations on having a girlfriend, though. That's good. It's always nice. Like, I think you were having like dating problems last time we spoke. So yeah. Um. So I'm gonna show you guys something real quick. Let me show you the picture in the article. Let me give y'all some context, and we can take a look at this together. But people are getting mad about. So this is the picture. They had the Basquiat thing in the back, and then they had the Tiffany blood diamond. And people have been saying different things. This person says it's not so much the Basquiat, but the Tiffany blood diamond. But people have gone back and forth about what they hate about it. Some people hate both. And I think both are kind of silly, to be honest. So it's like, here's my thing. In addition to the idea that there's no real point in trying to hold Basquiat as some kind of revolutionary or someone with deeply held anti-capitalist or political beliefs, or, deep beliefs on race. Like, he cared about race, in my opinion. He cared about race to the extent that it frustrated his aspirations. Like, there's a certain type of black person that every time they realize that they've failed at being a special snowflake Negro, or they've gotten a um, reminder or a wake up call in their quest to assimilate, because they get to, like, have sex with, like, conventionally attractive white women. They get to have rub shoulders with, like, rich white men and everything, and they get kind of comfortable and think, I've elevated myself, I've become like the Pharrell New Black. And then they get a reminder, like, someone asked them at a party, hey, can you rap for us? Or is this something that just kind of reminds them, like, okay, they're always going to see me first and foremost as an N-word. Like, then they'll, like, create a piece of art, about racism and stuff. But you can tell, like, what's really fueling it is their personal, and then they'll Trojan horse it with something about police brutality or slavery, whatever. But it'll leak out that it's a lifestyle racism issue that has inflamed them, and then they've Trojan horsed it with something systemic. Sometimes they don't even bother to Trojan horse it, and they just make it about, um, you know, whatever. But I mean, that's what I feel like Basquiat's uh, anti-racism that kind of was. It was a little personally motivated, but I don't think it came out of any type of deep concern about the state of black people as a whole. But Anyway, she's the fourth woman and the first black woman to wear this one of a kind yellow Tiffany diamond, right? And Tiffany announced that they were donating 2 million to HBCUs, and like a lot of people were getting upset. Uh, so it's like, to this article's credit, they kind of admit that Basquiat was complicated, and it's not, you can't really say what he would have wanted for his artwork. I think he would have totally been on board personally. But they point out that his stuff has been licensed in so many things, like Reebok and Saint Laurent. I've seen it at Uniqlo. I've seen it at all types of things, So I give this article credit for that. But to talk about the Tiffany blood diamond, the Tiffany diamond, and its beauty belies the history of colonization and exploitation of the African network. You cannot have diamonds without extractive colonialism. And while Tiffany and Company now claims a commitment to conflict-free diamonds, its wealth and dominance in the diamond industry is predicated on the racist systems that contributed to the diamond industry in the first place. Now, this specific diamond was a blood diamond, right? But what if Beyonce didn't add for Tiffany, but she didn't wear the blood diamond? What if she, instead of wearing the classic um blood diamond, that was, instead of the classic literal diamond, she wore one of the new conflict free diamonds? What would happen? What would happen then? Um Hold on a second. Yeah, so I mean, like, what would have happened? What would have happened then? Would they have, cared? Like, Tiffany would have still gotten that money, or that endorsement. What about, like, if you care about this stuff so much, why not boycott every rapper that wears any diamond, you know, or raps about diamonds? But that's too much of a sacrifice. Like, if the beat is hot, like, for example, I remember people were talking about cultural appropriation, and then it was one time Iggy Azalea, and I was tweeting something, and I said, "Yeah, Iggy Azalea." We're talking about cultural appropriation and culture vultures, and I mentioned, like, Iggy Azalea, like Justin Timberlake and Adele and everything, and somebody who was adamant about culture vultures and whatever when talking about Iggy Azalea was like, "Oh yeah, but Justin Timberlake is good," and it's like, why? Like, what makes it any better? Like, what's the difference? And like, oh no, but Adele's good, and it's like, what was at the end of the day is they liked his beats, So it's like they already didn't like Iggy Azalea's music, so it's easy for them to bash her, and they don't like her stupid voice, But the minute the politics requires them to give up anything, even if it's just listening to um sexy back, it's like too much. I saw people complaining about nepotism and acting and stuff like that, and just how all these rich people are entering acting. And it was in someone else's tweet, and they listed a bunch of names, and one of the names was the Mara sisters, like Rooney, and I forget the other Mara's name, but there's like two Rooneys. Mara Rooney's one, and I forget the other one. But these two actresses are a product of the marriage of two football dynasties, the Steelers and I think the Jets, or is it the Giants? But I think it's the Giants. There's two major billionaire family football uh, owning families that got married and produced the Maras. So these people are just like billionaire dilettantes who just decided to, like, buy their way into A-list acting. And one of the like leftist people in the replies to this person, who normally agrees with this stuff, was like, I agree with you, except for about the Rooney sisters. Like, they're darlings, like, and it's like, first of all, I don't even know what great work they've done. But even if they have done great work, like nepotism is nepotism. Like if you're drawing the line at people you like, then like what's the point? Like you're basically only protesting people that you already don't like. So it's not a sacrifice. Like so basically nepotism is okay if you think the people benefiting from the nepotism are cute or you know whatever, and like that's fine. No one's saying you have to boycott this stuff, but then don't be on Twitter or social media or whatever thumping your chest about how bad like nepotism is, and then the minute you enjoy anything, you're. But I feel like that's politics now. People just draw the line at protesting things that they already weren't. So like a lot of people were never going to own a Tiffany's diamond anyway. They were never going to get this stuff. So they'll complain about Beyonce wearing the diamond or whatever and everything. But in their own personal life, there's a million little sacrifices that they can do, that would make a difference. There's a lot of fucked up history of things that they buy, but that would be just too much work. You know, that would just be so like we just outsource this kind of thing where I'll give you another example. I've give this one plenty of times, but BuzzFeed, the media company, had laid a bunch of people off. They laid a bunch of people off over and over. And then what happened was somebody wrote a piece on their blog, one of the people who was laid off, and this person's job was to design quizzes, and quizzes were a very popular part of BuzzFeed's business model. They made the money to kind of subsidize the rest of the stuff that BuzzFeed was doing. But BuzzFeed found a girl who was like one of the most popular quiz makers, and she was in college. And she would just do it for the clout of saying that she worked at BuzzFeed, and they would pay her in like swag bags of like BuzzFeed swag, like BuzzFeed mugs and BuzzFeed stuff. So the guy wrote an article and he was like, yeah, I don't want to attack the girl or make it about the girl. At the end of the day, it's the company's fault. But as long as there's people out there who are just willing to work for clout or exposure or whatever, they're going to undermine the rest of us. And I was saying how I agreed with him on air in the podcast. And I was saying how as individuals, we have to have a responsibility to kind of hold the line somewhere. Because even if as individuals, it doesn't make that big a difference, cumulatively, it does make a difference. And what's funny is people kind of realize that with like voting. And I think if anything, they exaggerate the power of the individual collectively, like with voting. I think most voting, except for maybe in swing states, is vastly overrated. And I think even in places where it does make a difference, like swing states, they've narrowed down the two choices for you. It's like an illusion of choice. It would be like if someone said, you can have anything you want as long as it's either a ham sandwich with mustard or a ham sandwich with mayo. But we're giving you the choice. That's what like voting is. Like first is a fake choice because it's been narrowed down by the elites for you down to like a handful of people before you even had a chance to say anything. But then on top of that, in most places, your vote doesn't really make that big of a difference. And people understand it with that, even though it's not even that true. But in a million other things, suddenly the idea that where they actually do have a bigger power cumulatively, whatever, suddenly it's like, oh, it's not on us. It's the corporations or the millionaires or the billionaires whose job it is to fix this stuff, not us. And it's kind of bullshit because what it really comes down to is voting is not really that big a sacrifice. You just take some time off work and stand in line for an hour and you get a sticker and you post a sticker on social media saying I voted. But like giving up your favorite something to buy or eat or consume, that's like tougher. So back to the BuzzFeed example, he had brought this stuff up and I agreed in it online. And a lot of like leftists and stuff wrote me, and they were like, "Oh, you're hurting that poor girl. She's a worker, socialist. She's a worker. You can't say anything bad about a worker, working class, worker. Like worker is just this magic thing that just absolves you of all responsibility. And it's like, uh, you know, what you got to do is get mad at BuzzFeed. They shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, okay, I could be upset with both. There's not, where's the rule? There's an either or thing that, I can't hold both of them accountable. But the second thing is, systems get motivated to act right by the behaviors of individuals. Like, you guys are actually, by telling me that I have no right to criticize the individual consumer or worker or whatever, and that there's no onus on her to behave a certain way. What you're telling me is you believe in corporations so much that you think they will actually self correct. You believe in some universe that corporations, if we just whine enough on social media about things, but don't change anything to the bottom line, they're going to just self correct, or that celebrities, if we don't make them, we don't extract the price out of them for their bad politics, but just like whine, like on Twitter, like somehow they're going to self correct, even if we continue to buy their stuff. And it's like, and I told them, because these people like worship union history, and I'm like, okay, so should unions have not gotten mad at scabs and strike breakers who went to go to work? Just let all the strike breakers and scabs and everything just go in and work while you're out here striking, and um, just hope that the strike and the guilt of it makes a corporation act right. Even as the corporation is hiring tons of scabs who are doing the job at the rate that you didn't want to do it, and undermining your right to a raise. Like, when you guys look at union history or talk about scabs and tweet about scabs all day, you get the point I was trying to make about the girl doing quizzes for BuzzFeed. You know what I mean? But maybe you guys dream of getting some kind of gig like that. I don't know, but I don't understand, like, why did so many people's brains now short circuit. But going back to the blood diamond thing and Tiffany's, if Tiffany's bothers you that much, there's a million things you could think to do instead of complaining at Beyonce and Jay-Z. You can go, and because you guys make things go viral all the time, you make dances go viral, you make challenges go viral, you make milk crates go viral. Find out who owns Tiffany's, if anybody owns Tiffany's, and then what does that company make that you do buy or that you can't afford, and then boycott that. Like, Tiffany's doesn't exist in a vacuum, so why not do this? Like, first off, why not boycott Beyonce if it really bothers you that much? But you won't, because soon she drops her next surprise album, if there's a hot song on it and everybody else is tweeting about it, God forbid you're not tweeting about it, because if you tweet about it, your tweet might be the one that goes viral when people search for it. Like, like you guys can't even give up clout, but you want Beyonce to give up billions. Like, let's make a resolution. No matter how hot Beyonce's music is, I'm not gonna buy it. It can have the best. It can have the baby, Rihanna, and everybody I love on it. I'm not going to signal boost it. I don't care if he puts Cardi B and Meg The Stallion on it, but you're not going to do that. But Tiffany was bought by LVMH. LVMH stands for Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. It's the largest luxury brand in the world. How big is LVMH, right? And I'll show you right now how big LVMH is. And if you see it, it is insane. LVMH owns so many things. It owns an insane amount of things. You would not believe the amount of things LVMH owns. And I'm going to put a map of the brands. And they buy and consume so much that even though this was a fairly recent, um, even though this was a fairly recent development, I mean, even though this is a fairly recent chart, the one I'm about to show, it's already outdated because they've bought several companies since. They bought Tiffany for $16 billion, and they just bought Fenty. They bought Fenty, Rihanna's brand. So those things are not on this list. So check this out. I'm gonna put the list on the screen. Uh, give me a second. Oh, this is a great thing. Banksy does the same thing, presenting anti-capitalism in a very capitalistic way. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like Basquiat was like the first Banksy. He still sells his stuff at Sotheby's auctions. He works for Fox and does like openings for The Simpsons. You know, yeah, they want to worship these entertainers, so they insist the entertainers become worthy of the worship. That's deep. That's true. Yeah. So, oh, this is heavy. You're batting 1,000, Jeffrey Corley. Many in the left lack real convictions. They just have guilty consciences. Yeah, it's deep. It's a lot of white people in general, for sure. Yeah, I love that their total lack of beliefs results in Marxist terms like magic spells. I cast worker as a block on someone against any and all criticism. But that's true. There's a lot of magical thinking going on when it comes to there's a magical thinking going on when it comes to like modern online socialism. Like a lot of people kind of use it as like a in group or cool kids club or a magical thinking experiment. There's a lot, not all of them. There's a lot of people serious, but yeah, there's a microcosm of this in leftist spaces. A lot of the whites coming from money, having a lot of freedom to be more politically active, and use that to usurp organizations. Even little things like when they schedule like DSA meetings, like a lot of DSA meetings be like 4:30 on a Wednesday. Like what kind of like working class person of color is going to be able to even attend that? You know, like you kind of have to have a certain amount of freedom in your career or like financially to be available at those random times. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is real true. New Left went into academia and created the discourse that has now been co-opted by corporate media. The left lost, so the collective action is missing. Everything in media is representation. Yeah, a perfect example is this new show, The Chair, and oh my god, the like I don't know when academia became so mainstream, but it's like corporations and entertainment media have so been sucking at the teat of academia, and it's just like horrible. Like you just hear these pop critical theory terms, these pop academic terms, just proliferating in like T-shirts and shows and songs and all this stuff, and it's just rendered everything toothless and performative. It's awful. But the scene from The Chair is just really terrible. But I'm gonna get to that later. I'm actually gonna pull it up and get to that later. I just got it ready, but I want to focus on one thing at a time, which is this. Look at this map and look at everything that's on it, right? So let's say you were really bothered by this blood diamond thing. If you're really bothered by the blood diamond, then one of the things you might say to yourself is, I want to hurt the company that owns the company that profits from blood diamonds. So say you want to like, how would you do this? There's a lot of stuff on this list. Why would you boycott? Like, for example, black people love um Hennessy. Hennessy's on the list. Um Moet Chandon is on the list, right? Dom Perignon. How many rappers rap about Dom? You know, popping bottles. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, if you really try to think about it, one of the problems is it gets really hard when you actually see the extent of what you have to deal with. I think it's another reason why it's easy to check out on billionaires because now with everything so merged, like boycotting the Montgomery Bus Company is one thing, but imagine the Montgomery Bus Company was owned by another company that was a multinational conglomerate that owned 500 other companies. like with boycotting the Montgomery bus company, like Martin Luther King did, still work today under those circumstances. So that's one problem. It is hard, but okay, check out what LVMH owns that a lot of regular people go to. There's Christian Dior, Givenchy, Marc Jacobs, uh, Pink, the dressing short, DKNY. They own Louis Vuitton, Hermes. So all those girls who love those bags, like put down those. The blood diamond bothers you. Put down the bag. Like they want to localize the whole problem in Tiffany's, and then within Tiffany's, localizing the specific diamond. Like she should not have worn the actual blood diamond. If she wore one of the other ones, maybe that would have been okay. You know, uh, okay. When it comes time to get married, don't get a diamond ring. But then you won't be able to tell your friends that you had a diamond ring, and then they might think maybe your husband to be is poor. So you can't do that. You can't give up the tradition, even though that's a white colonial colonist tradition that's been imposed on us, getting a diamond ring for your marriage. But you're not going to give that up. You know, it's Beyonce. Beyonce is supposed to do it for us. She's supposed to do our politics for us. It's like trickle up politics. They're going to do trickle up politics, and they're rich. So the billionaire and the corporations are supposed to be doing the right thing so that we're free to do the wrong thing as individuals. That's what systemic focus has morphed into. Systemic focus has morphed into an absolution of personal responsibility. And like personal responsibility has kind of become a dirty word. It's gone from becoming a dirty word for the right reasons to becoming a dirty word for the wrong reasons. Here's more stuff that they own. They own Sephora. They own a lot of Galleria malls. So maybe you shouldn't go to the mall, period. They own Christian Dior, Bulgari. De Beer is another diamond company. They own Tag Heuer. They own Fendi. A lot of y'all love Fendi. They own Cinemax. I didn't even know they own Cinemax. That's interesting. And this isn't even everything. Like, it's too much to put on the list. I'm gonna close this out and find a real exhaustive list because that's just the tip of the iceberg. They own an insane amount of brands. Search LVMH and go to the Wikipedia, and you will totally see. So it's like it's easy to get mad at the Tiffany's because they can't afford that anyway. It's the same as not being able to let. It's easy to give that up, but they don't. Beyonce can afford it, so they want her to do the politics for them, and they want Tiffany's to apologize to them and hire more of them and give them the green light to be able to consume their products in good conscience and whatever. But there's a lot of stuff that they can afford and do afford under the LVMH umbrella. Like y'all buy the crap out of Fenty, you know. So like, why not get mad at Rihanna? But no, if you get mad at Rihanna, then you might be forced to not buy her stuff. So, forget about it. But also they want to compartmentalize everything. But also like this people are just kind of lazy. They don't want to do the research, find out who owns what. People aren't even trained to think that way anymore. Like systemic, but they don't really think about it. Like just think systemic is complain about the company Tiffany's. They don't think about actually examining the real system. Like, what is Tiffany's network of revenue? What are its sister companies? What's its parents' companies? What's its whatever? They don't think that hard about systemic stuff. Systemic stuff is just bringing up that something's a corporation or a politician, and then just demanding that they do the right thing. So here we go. LVMH, headquartered in Paris, France, was formed in 1987 through a merger of fashion house Louis Vuitton, founded in 1854, and Moet Hennessy, which was established after the 1971 merger between champagne producer Moet and Chandon, founded in 1743, and cognac producer Hennessy, founded in 1765. So let's map this out. Hennessy, old ass company, probably have a lot of blood money. from colonialism and slavery or whatever. Old ass company, 1765, rich as fuck, merges the 1765 company merges with a champagne company founded in 1743, Moet and Chandon. They merge in 1971. Then in 71, they merge with Louis Vuitton. No, and then in 87 they merge with Louis Vuitton, which has been around since 1854. They formed this mega company. Then they just buy up a bunch of stuff. They have 75 brands in total: Christian Dior, Givenchy, Marc Jacobs, Stella McCartney, Laura Piano, Kenzo, Celine, Fenty, Princess Yacht, Bulgari, and then, but it just goes on and on. And things like Sephora, things like Sephora, a lot of regular people can afford Sephora. You know, there's a lot of things. Like, go make a list with your friends and make it go viral. Do the LVMH boycott challenge. You know, if the blood diamonds bother you that much, but like people just don't really care. They just want to look like they care. So here's a list of, and this is a partial. This is still a partial list. Even on Wikipedia, like nobody can ever make a full list. A, because it's just too big, and B, because it keeps evolving. Like they buy so fast that you can't keep up. Even Zenith TVs they have. I don't even know anybody even still owns a Zenith, but yeah, this is a pretty good list, and it's still not that much. So I mean, that's what kind of what bothers me about this whole thing. The whole thing, and what bothers me about it is that they're not. A, we should not expect better from Beyonce and Tiffany. They're supposed to be like billionaires, and corporations are supposed to be the enemy. And so to be disappointed is silly. The other thing is her just not wearing the blood diamond or working with Tiffany's is not going to make as big a difference as if you got millions of people to just boycott LVMH. But the problem is that is work, and that requires community, that requires collective organizing, and people can't really do that anymore. The only thing people can do, it's like what Kwame Ture said in that clip that I love to play, but there's a difference between mobilizing and organizing. And like a real boycott where you map out the relationships between companies and make a list of demands and have a tangible ask, and then proceed to boycott and then let the company know why you're boycotting and try to hit them in their pocket. Like, not minding the fact that in today's society it's just logistically harder to do, but if you were to try to do it, it'd require organizing. But to get a bunch of people angry on Twitter and complaining about Beyonce in a viral fashion, that just requires mobilizing. And mobilizing is very easy. And the internet is great for mobilizing, but it's bad at organizing. If anything, it's counterproductive to organizing because people spend a lot of their energy and frustration on the mobilizing and venting phase. And then this is kind of fine if they're cool. You just go out at night and just drink some Narragansett beers, in their local bar, or whatever, and they're good. So it's, I don't know, but yeah, I don't expect better from them. They should be like considered like class enemies. They should be encouraged to use their money for good. But if they don't, that should be considered the norm, and we should be thinking of ways to hold their feet to the fire, the corporations and the billionaires and everything, that requires actual sacrifice, not just tweeting at them tweets that they're not going to read. Like yeah, maybe you have to give up that Fenty. You'd have to give up that Fenty um, makeup. Like now, it's considered bad to hold people to account for anything, even if they actually have power. Like for example, somebody wrote an article saying that Obama wasted his presidency by not addressing black issues and race and whatever, and that he messed up. And a lot of like blue checks and whatever, a lot of like woke progressive black people and stuff were like, it's not Obama's job to address race. He's black. He didn't create white supremacy. White people did. It's up to white people to fix it. And that's a real thing people were saying to me over and over again. When I retweeted the article, they're like, he's not white. White people created white supremacy. It's their job to do it. You're putting the onus on a black man. They're treating him like he was just a regular Joe. Like he's not part of the system. Or, like it's become such a stupid game now that now even the president's an individual. And supposedly white supremacy is supposed to self-correct and whatever. And it's like y'all agitate white people all the time in protests and Black Matter stuff and all these things. So clearly you think black people play a role in getting white people to act right. So why are you letting Obama off the hook on this? And by your logic, then we shouldn't even get elect a black president, because basically you're saying that it's white people's job to undo white supremacy, and that it's actually racist to call on a black person, even if it's a black person. Like the whole idea was that black people are supposed to enter the system and get a seat at the table to change it from the inside out. But once they're on the inside, we're still supposed to pretend that they're not part of the system. At which point, what's even the point of putting them in there outside of helping people in your class get rich and get jobs? Like, you're not even being consistent. But at that point, if that's the case, if we want to end racism and you're saying that we can't ask black people, even in the most powerful office in the land, to do it, you just made a case for never electing a black president again. Like, I guess black people are just supposed to get power so that we can look at them and then pray that we get power too. Again, not so that we can change anything, but just so that people can look at us now and we all get rich. That's representational politics right there. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't, feel free to support the show financially. We always appreciate it. We always get to get more things done for the show. So yeah, thanks for joining us. It's about an hour. That's a good amount of time. I hope I gave people a lot to think about, and if not, I hope at least you enjoyed it. All right, everybody, take it easy. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Be good. Bye.